would like to introduce Amma Nazir. Amma is the candidate for Healey ward in Rochdale. Nice to meet you, Amma.
Pleased to meet you too, Mark. Thank you.
Good
Thanks
stuff.
for having me on.
How are things going? How are you finding things in Rochdale at the moment?
Well, it's been a bit of a whirlwind because we've just come out of a by-election, which was quite interesting for Rochdale and possibly England because George Galloway came in and won. So
Surprise to everyone.
it was a massive surprise, and I think it caused quite a few shockwaves, not only in Rochdale but nationally and internationally. So George Galloway is our new MP for the Workers' Party of Britain.
Fantastic news. So, as the candidate for Healey ward in Rochdale, give me a bit of background about yourself. You're from Rochdale. You've lived here your entire life.
Yeah. My dad came over to Rochdale in 1957. Very hardworking man, and opened a small little cafe that everyone was familiar with called the International.
Yeah, I think we all know that one.
1969 he opened it, and then he ran it till 1979, and then in 1980 my dad opened the Asia on Milkstone Road in Rochdale, and as everyone knows,
another really, really well-known iconic institution. Should we call it?
You could call it an iconic institution. It was brilliant, and I worked there. I started working there from the age of 10 with my dad, and went to family business. We were open for 38 years.
Wow.
And I did 32 of them. So
you're feeling it now?
I actually get more sleep. I actually sleep now. I don't work 16, 70-hour days anymore. But it was an experience because the great thing about working in a family business, when you've got a family feel, you welcome everyone and you lay that marker because you go off the remit of what your dad sets down.
Yeah.
So the example that my dad set, because my dad was everyone's uncle. In the restaurant, everyone called my dad uncle. So he was famously known as uncle. Even the customers called my dad uncle. So when it's that kind of hospitality and the way my dad was warm with everyone, that's where the spin-off came off of learning to deal with the public. So for many years, I've had plenty of experience of dealing with the public and honing customer service skills.
Fantastic. It all helps for what you're kind of running up to now, really, isn't it? And what's leading you up to this point now. The fact that you were so well established within the community of Rochdale and so well known that, well, surely it's a natural progression to look into politics, I suppose.
Yeah, I think I've sort of like fallen into it, not by default, but the fact that for many years, when you have a business and the community help keep that business going, I think there's a communal feel where you feel that you want to give something back. So when the community have supported you for so many years, I mean, I was dealing with, going back where I've seen literally 3 or 4 generations of Rochdalians come through our door, where I've seen parents like start dating from a young age. They date, get engaged, get married. They have kids. Their kids then grow up, get married, have kids, and their kids were then coming in. So when you see that evolution and how that family evolves, and you're dealing with literally the same family, but you times that by literally how many people are living in Rochdale because of where we were and how many customers we had, you're dealing with different generations of people. So when you can relate to literally different generations by working in a family business, I think it's the greatest tool of life, of experience you can get. And when you've done that, almost you feel that you're part of Rochdale and they feel part of you as well. So not only are they learning about how you are and what the business is, they treat you more like family. So we never actually saw the customers that came in as customers. It was like one big family. Everyone knew everyone. everyone knew my family. I knew everyone's family, right? But that extension is where we're at now, because that's what gives you the confidence to think, you know what, all those years, those lovely people have supported our family business, and now I'm not in it anymore. So I think it's my time to try and give something back to the community, but I'm in a position to. So when you're in a position to, the biggest position of why I can do it is I've actually got more time on my hands.
I'm not surprised you got a bit more time on your hands after working 70, 80-hour weeks at Asia.
Yeah,
And
and more. But it was good, because sometimes you've got to build your own social scene within that. So not only was it a family business, but it was our social circle as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So when everyone needed to come and see us, or they wanted to chill out, or your friends wanted to come and see you, not only did they get fed, not only did they eat or socialize, you got to see everyone as well. So it's almost like you create this little oasis, a communal oasis where everyone met, ate, drink, danced,
Yeah,
and put the world to rights.
absolutely. And I think you've got it in a nutshell there. Exactly what that place was. So why the Healey ward in Rochdale?
So this was a bit tricky. Everyone knows I like a challenge, and I like problem solving. So it's like thinking about things. I got offered a few wards. I could have stayed in Milkstone and Deeplish, where it's a predominantly Asian area. So politics works where, you're defined by, in Asian politics, you're defined by your community. So a lot of councillors tend to stay in communities where the indigenous population is of their culture.
Yeah.
So they tend to stay in areas where they know that they've got the Asian vote. So when they've got the Asian vote, they tend to win because they've got their community backing them. I could have took the easy route and sort of taken that route, but then you're technically not representing everybody that lives in that ward.
Yeah.
You're representing the people that vote for you, predominantly being part of a genre or, a specific of the community. Healey, when I did my homework, is they've got a massive thriving Asian population, and they've got a really big English population. And I wanted to sort of like be the glue that the Asian population can have someone to relate to, and the British population, the English population in the area could have someone to relate to. And for me, it's a challenge, because I just think, you know what, if you could be the glue that bridges both gaps, and the remit of a councillor is you're representing your ward, but you're representing everybody in your ward.
Yeah.
And that's the key. So, there's no favoritism. You're not, oh, well, I'm Asian and I'm a Muslim, so I'm going to represent my people. My people at Rochdale.
Yeah.
That's everyone that lives in Rochdale. Because the way I was brought up and the diverse environment that I was brought up in, it's very multicultural. But my dad was very multicultural.
Yeah.
He didn't see colour. He just saw people. And when you're brought up in that environment and you've been mentored and brought up in that fashion, you don't differentiate between culture and colour. You see people and how people are. So it's a bit old school, really, because if someone gives you love and respect, then you give it them back double, don't you?
100%.
Irrespective of culture, colour, creed, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. I've noticed recently you've been pretty busy, haven't you, around the area? You've literally been out, I think, every day. Every day I see something new popping up on socials, things like that. Meeting with our potential constituents in Healey. Do you want to talk about some of the problems that they're having there that you want to find answers to and resolve?
Yeah, well, prior to me being announced, and when I knew about that was going to be standing in Healey, I reached out to a lot of the people that I knew from the restaurant that were all customers, that were good friends, that reside in Healey and Shawclough. And for me, they could relate because they already knew me. So I'm not new to the area.
Yeah.
So technically, they already know me. And I am quite a popular face around Rochdale. So that, over the years from the restaurant, you get to meet so many different people from different areas. So I reached out to quite a few prominent people who were locals right across the board and asked them what the problems were. Not, I'm, bringing up a manifesto or bringing up, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. No, you have to reach out to the public in the borough and ask them what's going on. And a few people got back to me. They've had massive issues with traffic, HGV speeding. They've had, antisocial behaviour in certain areas. They've had drug dealing. There's various issues with detours, school traffic. What they've done is they've introduced double yellow lines in various places. So parents are clogging up main roads, taking back routes to get their kids into school. And then it doesn't help when you've got major roadworks everywhere. I think a lot of, there was an incident, I think last year, where a HGV lorry actually hit one of the residents and in a mobility scooter, and she was fatally injured. But it's all stemming from misuse of the road.
Okay, so there's been a few issues that have been raised by local constituents and residents. What's the most major gripe that you're hearing back from residents?
Well, when I was reaching out to everyone, I reached out to a few businesses in the area, reached out to a few residents, and one of the businesses I knew was a pub called the Healey. And basically, Simon, who's the landlord, I've known him for about 30 years, obviously being in hospitality and being in the same business together. He's a really nice guy, a very hardworking man in the industry. And he's been at that pub for 14 years. And I went to see him and he gave me quite an insight about some of the issues as a landlord, what he'd experienced in business, obviously since COVID.
Yeah.
And, rates that he was experiencing because he was getting charged for rates for a flat that was upstairs. And then he was getting charged rates, but because he didn't live there, he had to charge, he was getting charged 2 sets of rates in one only for a business, but because there's living quarters upstairs like a flat, he was getting charged rates for that as well. And in the hospitality trade, it's not easy trying to run a business. And then he had his gripes were VAT, the VAT threshold, charging VAT on products. He was utilities, his utility bills and running costs were phenomenal. The fact that he's paid testament to the fact that he's supported by a really nice community that support that pub.
Yeah.
And he's still doing it after so many years. He's been there 14 years and we sat down and it was over. He got me a coffee and I just reached out to him. I said, look, tell me what the issue, what is it? If I'm going to be running as a councillor, I need to know what's going on. So you tell me as a business owner from your perspective, what do you want me to do? Or what would you require? Because sometimes they just want to sound off and be heard.
Yeah.
As a business owner, do you want to speak to somebody who represents you and be asked, are you all right? Can I do something for you? And, he came up with some stuff and there was insight in the issues that as a business, what he was experiencing, what his locals were experiencing, because obviously a pub in a village like Healey is the centerpiece of the community, technically, isn't it?
100% it is.
So everybody knows what's going on. It's a meet and greet. People go there to support the local business. They go there as a community to socialize. It's a social aspect, but people always talk. And when you're in a village, in an area as such, everybody knows everyone. So everyone's going to talk,
somewhere like Healey.
And they all gossip, so to speak, and they all talk about various issues. And one of his major gripes was he's been there 14 years and not one of the local councillors have ever reached out to him in 14 years
None of them.
None
None
of
of them
them.
have been to his.
Yeah, I
his
mean, I even
premises.
asked him who's who, and he didn't really know any of who was who what. And the only time that he ever encountered a politician or a councillor was when Tony Lloyd, rest in peace. I know he's passed away, but he was our local MP. But Tony Lloyd visited his pub on his campaign, and he never saw him after that.
Goes to show you just put a bit of effort in.
Of course it is, because at the end of the day, the only way you can represent people is if you communicate.
Yeah.
If you know why you're representing and what issues you need to what issues you need to solve when they ask you. When I ask them, what's your issues? The only way I'm going to know is if I ask and they tell me.
Yeah. Actually put your feet on the beat, so to speak.
Yeah, of course you do. It's the only
get-
way. It's all right coming up with a manifesto and said, I'm banging the drum, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Well, it's no point saying things if the locals don't want what you're trying to sell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
One of the other points that's been raised by residents is policing. Do you want to expand on that, how you would get to grips with that?
I think what one of the residents was had a few gripes about policing in the area, and one of the major things was speeding and more traffic, sort of like a presence. Want to deter antisocial behaviour, because there's a shop at the top of in Healey, a local shop, and he has people going in there trying to. He's been online where there's videos of him fending off burglars.
This is
robbers.
a regular occurrence.
Yeah. Where he's been attacked. There's people going in his shop trying to rob. He's been robbed as well, at like arm point or machete or whatever it was. And, that shop now has an electronic lock on his door.
And this is your standard corner shop.
This is a standard shop that's been there and they're a hard-working family. The guy's called Danny. Really nice, hard-working people. Now, this guy is working as many hours as possible to earn a living, to feed his family. And he's having to deal with all these issues when he's paying that in his council tax. You pay council tax for police and for litter. All these services that are part of your council tax, a service that you're supposed to pay for. And I feel that the community in that area has been let down a little bit. So what we need to do is reach out to the local constabulary and see how we can get more policing in the area, more community bobbies patrolling. I think if you've got a presence of community officers walking around, even driving around in the area or being parked up somewhere.
Just being visual.
Yeah, being visual. I think seeing something is more of a deterrent, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Do if there's a bit of a presence in the area, it might deter the crime. It might make someone think twice. It might make someone slow down when they're speeding down the street in a car. It might make someone think twice about them stealing a car. So fingers crossed. It's about liaising with the local constabulary, local police, and reaching out and seeing what they could do, what things they could do better.
Yeah.
And if there's any room for improvement, how they can improve their service to the constituents of Healey.
Fantastic. That ties in nicely to another point that was raised, which was the safety of female dog walkers in Healey.
Yeah, that was an unusual one, because what we found was one of the residents who I spoke to backs onto in Healey. So she was quite vocal about there being more lighting, a bit female dog walkers, more safety, having a bit more of a presence down there.
It's a hugely popular country park.
Oh, it's massive, and in that area, if it's poorly lit, at the end of the day, there's got to be a safety element, or people, even into this day and age, people got to whether you're male or female, you never know, do you? You know, there's got to be an element of safety, and people have got to be able to do things, walk wherever they want, do
Yeah.
whatever they want, with an element of safety. And that was one of the issues that arisen, and it's something I'll have a look at.
So moving back to a point we just briefly brushed on was the traffic and speeding. What do you propose to put in place to kind of combat these speeders? We seem to have a bit of an issue on the corner of Healey and Shawclough Road.
Yeah, what's happened there is if you go from Healey up to Whitworth, there are some quarries, and the HGV over the last few years, there seems to have been an increase of heavy goods vehicles coming down. Now, when you're coming down Shawclough Road, you've got an ascendancy and descendancy from both Fraylinge Road and Shawclough Road, and they sort of like you've got a dip. So you've got a massive ascendancy from the top of Shawclough Road that leads down, and then ascendancy going up. So when you've got heavy goods vehicles who are hurtling down at speeds, and what people don't understand is these heavy goods vehicles have got a lot of weight and tonnage that they're transporting.
What, they're about 48 tons?
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
like
You know,
that.
the big vehicles, and when you've got that kind of weight and that kind of it's a lorry or a heavy goods vehicle, and it's speeding, and think about the times it's going to take to stop. 1, 2, if they do try to stop because of the weight that they're carrying, that there's going to be, they're not going to stop straight away, are they?
Yeah, I wouldn't expect.
You know what I mean?
them
And
to.
then when you've got people walking with the dogs, you've got kids playing, and cars that are pulling out because the roads aren't massive in Healey.
Quite a blind bend as well as you.
Yeah. So
approach
there's been loads of accidents on Healey Corner, but the fact that HGVs are coming up and down that road daily, whereas they never did before, and they like doing a bit of a shortcut. But because it's heavy goods vehicles, what damage are they doing to the roads for that amount of use? Do you know what I mean? So straight away the roads are being affected. It's creating more potholes.
Yeah.
Roads are constantly being damaged with that amount of traffic going in. And I don't know whether it's a sat-nav problem or whether they're just trying to shake shortcuts. But because the roadworks are always taking place on Whitworth and Shawclough, I think they're trying to cut through and bypass Whitworth Road. When ideally, Whitworth Road should be the main road in and out for the quarry traffic, for the HGVs to be using. One thing that I would try to introduce is lobby the highways and maintenance people at Rochdale Council, to sort of like try and get a weight restriction signs put up at the top of each road of the either side of the road. Get more speed cameras in, or get traffic police doing regular speed gun checks. So when you hit them in the pocket, that might deter people going down the road, or having signs up which say, like a speed camera sign saying, speed in process, or having AMP cameras up. And hopefully that should deter people from using the road as a bit of a rat race.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty well received, wouldn't it?
Well, it'll certainly earn me some brownie points for the locals.
I've absolutely no doubt of that whatsoever. Another point that was raised, and this is one that surprised me actually, is how regular the water's been cut off by United Utilities.
It seems to be a regular occurrence because, again, another resident said that United Utilities are constantly working in the area and water goes off a regular occurrence. I mean, that must be a massive inconvenience for the residents in that area to not have running water. People are showering, people coming in from work, people got to cook, people got to take showers. Personal hygiene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just imagine you've gone to the toilet and you want to flush, and you've been to the toilet and you can't flush because the water pressure's dropped off. There's no water in the area. And this is a regular occurrence. So I just think, there's got to be more of a liaison with United Utilities to say, listen, can you sort of like, can you do something about this? But then again, you've got to be assertive, isn't it? You know, if you don't go after them and say, look, why are the if they pay their water bills, they need to be provided with a level of service where they pay for a service without inconvenience.
Yeah.
So that's something that hopefully we can try and address. But with utility services, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, was it?
Sadly not.
No.
It's not something you can easily fix or put a plaster over, I suppose,
No,
can
but
you?
with a regular, you know, if it's one incident, but if it's over a period of time where there's a regular inconvenience, that's something that needs to be addressed and questions need to be asked. And hopefully I can ask those questions and get the right answers that the constituents want.
Fantastic. Now, I've been asked to ask you about Failing School. Now, despite the name, this falls under your constituency, and there seems to be an ongoing issue with parking at the school.
It's horrendous. Another resident said they've got double yellow lines on Failings Road, but again, parents are parking on either side of the road, which then causes a bottleneck. So then sometimes it could be single traffic where people are having to wait behind cars for passing traffic. There's got to be more marshals, traffic marshals, and then peak times. You know, I know that the school try to manage the traffic as best as possible, but I think some of the parents have got to be a bit more responsible where, you know, even when dark nights, you know, kids don't wear high-vis jackets, do they? And, you know, in winter nights when it's going dark at 3, 4 o'clock and you've got kids coming out of a school and they're running out against cars and there's visibility is limited, you know.
Especially when people are trying to chase a gap as well.
Exactly. But the thing is, if someone's running across the road and they've got poor visibility, you know, there's going to be a serious accident. But it's the fact that it slows down traffic and it causes an inconvenience for the residents and the constituents going in and out of Healey. So, and that's then creates a bottleneck, and then it slows down. And then what that does, it backs up. So it's something that we've got to try and liaise with the school and try and get a message out where the parents of, you know, the parents of the pupils need to be trying to be educated or try and liaise with the school where a gate could be open because they've got quite a big concrete playground, and see if something could be done where traffic could be directed in where they can wait, and then they could be directed out, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? So obviously, I mean, I was there the other day and I was driving down and they were lined up all along the road and it's all double yellows, but then visibility is really poor. And then people are trying to cross, then you're having to slow down. And then you're conscious of people running in and out from behind cars. So yeah, I actually got that when I spoke to the resident, and she spoke to me and told me about the traffic problem. I actually saw it and went and had a look. You know, I drove at a peak time. So the only way is to listen when they've
How
told
long
you.
did it take you to get through and past?
Yeah, it was an eye opener.
So a point that seems to be raised a lot these days is that of the availability of defibrillators within communities. Obviously, with the way things have been noticed in the media and that kind of thing, that these defibrillators being available has become a huge focus for communities.
Yeah, well, the residents have got funding for defibs and approval from the local councillors that were already there. And after some investigation that I spoke to and I'd been added to a local forum, bureaucracy is what's holding up the cost. The cost has been approved, but unfortunately they've not, some bureaucracy has stopped them from being installed. But also there was an issue where it was raised who was going to maintain the defibrillators. Now, a couple of the residents from when I read on the forum, they'd put themselves up to maintain them on a regular basis. Now, think about this: a residents actually taking responsibility to make sure they're maintained. And again, another one that they needed to decide on after I'd spoke to Simon from the Healey, he basically said that they needed some signs putting up about where the defibrillators needed to be put, so people knew where they were, and how accessible, what access they've got to them. So yeah, so that was another subject, but it's been the funding was approved 2 years ago by the local councillors. It's gone through some bureaucratic channels, and they're still waiting for them to be approved. Well, they've been approved, but
Just waiting for the install.
they need to be installed. So we just need to speed that up as well, and then hopefully have more visible maps around the area as to where they are and location. So that's another thing that we've got to deal with.
So this pile on the plate's getting bigger and bigger, isn't it?
You know, when actually going around, I'm thinking, if you don't ask, you don't know, do you?
Absolutely right.
So again, being proactive is actually, well, I already know what the current issues are. So I was trying to be more proactive as going out and finding out what the issues are. So when you can be proactive, I know what the issues are, rather than getting in, when I win.
Well, the fact that we've got this list of issues that has been raised by the residents shows how active you have been in the community to find these issues and address them.
Yeah, but look, if you're going to take a job on, then you've got to do your homework, haven't you? You go for a job interview, you've got to prepare for it, haven't you? You know that it's almost like having a CV, isn't it? At the end of the day, you've got to prepare, you've got to do your research of what your job entails. Am I capable of doing that job? Do I have the skill set to say, can I do that job and do it to the best of my ability? Can I do it better than the people that are already there? Will I make an improvement in that area? Will I be proactive in the issues and dealing with them? Will I be accessible? Will I be able to perform? So anything's performance related. When you do a job, you are measured by how good you are on your performance, and it's like running a business, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's like having a family business, and you've got to run it, because if you don't run it correctly, then you don't have a business. So this constituency, the ward, is similar to having a business. You've got to treat it like a business. You've got to deal with the things. You've got to deal with the staff, or you've got to deal with your suppliers. You've got all these little things, and then come under different remits. You know what I mean? Litter, traffic, education, health, all these things that matter to the borough, that keep the borough going. If you don't address them, and you don't try and sort the problems out that people are, that constituents are encountering, then what's the point doing the job? I'm not capable. I might as well just sit at home and not do it.
That's right, and it's clear that you referenced it to being like a family business, and that shows the kind of passion that's involved. It's not just another job. The fact that you referenced a family business and likened it to that shows how important it is.
Because it's a community. Then if you adopt that community, then they're your family as well, aren't they?
That's
right. Family's everything. You've got to look after your family, haven't you?
So on that note, we've had points raised about the area forums that used to be in place, such as the neighbourhood watch, kids' sports facilities, that all seem to be dwindling and disbanded.
Well, every borough has an area forum, which I'm really familiar with, because when I had the restaurant, we had regular forums that were hosted by the council, which was a way of discussing issues, and then the residents were invited and people could voice their issues, and certain subjects would be discussed, and then you had a panel of councillors, or you had panels of officials, and the council have decided to disband them throughout the borough. Now, when you've got a forum behind the scenes, when you've got residents who are champions, and I applaud them, that are in that constituency, who actually do a lot of work and free up a lot of their own time to do things for the community, and then they convey that to the forum to get stuff done. Now, if you don't have a forum, how do you get anything done? How does the council know what's going on?
Voice your opinion?
How do you voice your opinion? You don't. So now all of a sudden, that's a detrimental effect to how residents communicate the issues, what things need to be dealt with. So, one thing that I'd like to do if I'm the councillor of the ward, is to try and keep try and raise our own forum, try and have a business liaison network, have a residents liaison like a neighbourhood watch officer that's been nominated by the community, which then represents what some of the neighbourhoods want. Have a business network where they have an elected business representative from a local business. You know what I mean? Have a school representative, and then basically have an unofficial forum, so where we could actually discuss, be more accessible to each other, try and look to improve the area. By doing that, that then keeps that that community feel. So you're actually in the know in real time, so we can sort the issues out together. One of what I wanted to do was try and get an office or a space, if there's anything available, where I can set an office up, and then not only can I hold regular surgeries in that office where the constituents know where it is, it's accessible. I don't want to sit in a church hall and speak in a church hall for an hour.
So people aren't having to wait for a designated time and location. They can almost drop by.
Yeah, I want to be able to be accessible to people, one. And what I want to do as well is I want to try and set up an online system whereby people can email me an issue, go on the website, email me an issue prior. And then what we do is they can book a slot. So I've allocated days in the week where it could be a morning, it could be an afternoon. They can email me prior to an issue and then get a 10 or 15 minute Zoom call. Because you got to remember, you've got old people, you've got young people, you've got family people, you've got professionals, you've got people that work in the area, you've got people who are busy. You know, sometimes they don't, you can't get to a surgery one morning, and then you've got to wait for the next one. So what I want to do is try and streamline that, where a bit more, if I can't physically be accessible, if I can put something online where people can book a slot, you got 15 minutes or 10 minutes, they email me prior to their issue. I can try and do a bit of research to see what the issue is, if I can sort of like get some answers prior. If not, I can speak to them more in depth. And then what that does is it streamlines and gives your constituents the confidence. Say, one, you're accessible, two, you're actionable, and then three, you've got the job done, and the communication levels there, and then you're building trust, and aren't you, at the end of the day?
Absolutely. And not just that, by having these forums and these people in places, you are literally going to bring the community together.
100%. At the end of the day, we're representing everyone, aren't we? Do you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, that is then, I'm not in it for short term. I'm not in this for status or having some ego trip that I'm a councillor. I'm not in this for personal status. I'm in this because I've actually missed dealing with people. My background is all about, I'm a people's person. I've always been in hospitality. I've always been in servitude. I've always been in public service. So I've had about 6 or 7 years out of it, and I've re-energized, and I think it's time to give something back where I actually get to interact with people again, and it's nice because I'm a good listener as well as a good talker.
As well as getting things done.
Yes, 100%.
Fantastic. So with the lack of kids' sports facilities, what do you have in mind, or what do you have in plan to put into place for the youths in the area?
So again, how I know about this is another resident reached out to me, a really, really prominent member. She's very active. She's actually a school teacher. She's on some committees. She's very active in the sports world, and she'd put some motions in to try and get funding for kids services, or try and get a sports hub where it could be a community sports hub, for multi-sports hub. And she'd lobbied the council for funding and earmarked a place where it could be done. And the council have never responded. So one thing we've got to do is, if we don't look after the generation that's coming up, then that is a lost generation. Then that's lost to drug dealing. That's lost to antisocial behaviour. If you can't channel kids and give them a platform or lay a foundation for them to get into activities or sport, then they look for other things to do, which sometimes ends up being stupid, antisocial behaviour. If you can channel these children and get them into sport, but we've got to have a sports centre, haven't we? One thing what I want to try and look at is funding pots through Sports England or even the National Lottery, and look at Sports England, look at the government pots of what's available, to see if we can earmark a place and create a sports hub, and hopefully engage with the likes of the teacher that reached out to me. I don't want to mention her name because for GDPR, I don't want to say who she is. So I'd rather keep it private. She knows who she is.
I was going to say, I'm sure she'll watch
she
this.
Messaged me, honestly. She asked me a question and she sent me some essays, which was brilliant because, again, it's an insight. You're passionate. It just goes to show that the community cares, that they want to do best for the community and that they care, and that if they're passionate, and she's a school teacher and she wants to enhance the children and the youth of today who are going to be the adults of tomorrow. And by doing that through sport, I think it's really good. And I'm hopefully going to put that on the list where we can try and get more sports facilities and in the area, which then benefits. That's something for the children as well. I mean, obviously, I know we're dealing with every aspect of the community, but again, like I say, Rome wasn't built in a day. But I'll do my damn hardest to try and do something for the children in the area coming up. And hopefully create a community sports hub, which could be used by all.
Absolutely, I think you'd be the envy of a lot of the neighbouring wards.
Fingers crossed.
Well, it definitely seems like you've got all your ducks in a row.
Yeah, I've thought long and hard about it. I haven't really said, right, I'll just get I'll just get in, and once I get in, I'll deal with everything. But people that know me, people know I like a challenge. And at the end of the day, if I'm in it to win it, then once I've won it, then I've got to perform, haven't I? You know what I mean? I've got to be consistent and not be complacent in doing that job. So if I know what's going on, then I can start planning what's more important and the issues that need addressing more importantly, and deal with them first, and then look to do a long-term plan that benefits the borough and the constituency.
Sounds like a plan, so to speak. So we've addressed loads of great issues there that you've got some fantastic solutions for. Before we sign off, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I just think we've covered all the points, and not these aren't the points that I'm raising. These are the points that the residents have raised, and hopefully with better communication. I know there'll be other issues that need dealing, but obviously I've got my hooks into. I'm looking to get my hooks into the issues at hand, and fingers crossed, I'll do a good job. I'll do the job to the best of my ability, and all I can say is, on everybody that's listening, if you want to make a change and be heard, you have to vote. At the end of the day, there's a lot of people that moan about things, and but they don't vote. And you always see people on an online presence, or they're always moaning about lack of this, lack of that. But if you want to change, then you have to get out and vote. If you don't vote the right people, then at the end of the day, you end up doing a disservice not only to yourselves, but a disservice to the community, because what ends up happening is you end up getting someone that you don't want, someone who can't do the job. And then what ends up happening is you're stuck with them.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to be stuck with somebody that can't do the job,
here's one I made earlier.
Vote for me on May the 2nd, on Thursday, May the 2nd. If you want a better Healey, then vote for me.
Great
I'm a
stuff.
Nazir, Workers' Party of Britain.
Fantastic, Emma. Well, it's great to have you in, and we wish you all the very best of luck.
Appreciate it. Thanks. It's been great. Thank you very much, pal.
No, thank you.
Cheers.
And we're out. Well done, Paul. That went really well.
Do you want an autograph, anyone?